Chris Cornell was a titan of rock music, a voice that defined a generation. As the frontman for Soundgarden, he was one of the chief architects of the Seattle grunge movement. His staggering vocal range, which could move from a soulful croon to a primal scream in an instant, was unparalleled. Soundgarden's surreal and often dark music videos, especially for Black Hole Sun, were staples of MTV's alternative programming. Cornell later found continued success with the supergroup Audioslave and a distinguished solo career, always maintaining his status as one of rock's most powerful and poetic singer-songwriters. On May 18, 2017, following a Soundgarden concert in Detroit, Michigan, Cornell was found unresponsive by his bodyguard in his room at the MGM Grand Hotel. Medics were unable to revive him, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. The official cause of death was ruled a suicide. He was 52 years old. The news was a devastating shock to the music world, as there had been few outward signs of his immediate distress. His death prompted a massive outpouring of grief and opened up a wider public conversation about mental health and depression, particularly among middle-aged men. A private funeral was held, which was attended by many of his peers from the music industry. Chris Cornell is buried at Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles, California. His grave is located in the Garden of Legends section, near a large lake. The site is marked by a large, gray granite headstone engraved with his name, dates, and the words, "Voice of our generation and an artist for all time." It has become a major destination for grieving fans, who keep the site constantly decorated with flowers, letters, and mementos. Bradley Nowell was the singer, guitarist, and primary songwriter for the band Sublime. His genius lay in his ability to effortlessly blend ska, punk rock, reggae, and hip-hop into a laid-back, sun-soaked sound that was quintessentially Southern Californian. While the band built a massive grassroots following through constant touring, they were on the verge of mainstream stardom as the music video era embraced alternative genres. Songs like What I Got and Santeria would become massive MTV hits, but tragically, Nowell would not live to see their success. He was the voice and soul of a band whose influence would grow exponentially after his death. Nowell had struggled with heroin addiction for several years. Just 7 days after marrying his partner and with a young son, Jacob, Sublime embarked on a tour to support their upcoming major label debut album. On the morning of May 25, 1996, the band's drummer, Bud Gaw, found Nowell dead on the floor of his motel room in San Francisco. The cause of death was a heroin overdose. He was 28 years old. The self-titled album Sublime was released 2 months later and became a massive commercial success, turning the late Nowell into a posthumous superstar. Following his death, Bradley Nowell was cremated. His ashes were scattered over his favorite surfing spot in Surfside, California. A headstone was placed at Westminster Memorial Park in Westminster, California, as a memorial for him. The stone bears his name, dates, and the inscription from the song What I Got. Loving is what I got. However, it is a cenotaph, a monument for someone buried elsewhere. There is no grave to visit, as his final resting place is the Pacific Ocean. Lisa Left Eye Lopez was the fiery, creative, and often unpredictable force within TLC, one of the best-selling female groups of all time. As the trio's rapper and resident visionary, Left Eye was responsible for many of their most iconic concepts, looks, and, of course, their name. TLC stood for Tion, Lisa, and Chili. Her quirky fashion, exemplified by the condom she famously wore over her left eye, and her rapid-fire rap verses on hits like Waterfalls and No Scrubs, made her a standout star of the MTV generation. She was the spark of the group, known for her artistic depth and a turbulent personal life that often made headlines. Seeking spiritual renewal and working on a documentary about her life, Lisa traveled to Honduras for a 30-day retreat in the spring of 2002. On April 25, 2002, while driving a rented SUV, she swerved to avoid an oncoming truck. The vehicle rolled over several times, and Lisa, who was reportedly not wearing a seatbelt, was thrown from the vehicle. She died instantly from severe head injuries. She was just 30 years old. The final moments leading up to the crash were captured on video, as she had been filming for her documentary. Her death was a profound loss for music. Lisa Lopez is buried at Hillendale Memorial Gardens in Lithonia, Georgia. Her final resting place is marked by a large, flat, gray granite ledger-style grave. It is beautifully and uniquely engraved with a full-body silhouette of her sitting in a meditative yoga pose. Etched beside the image is a portion of the lyrics from her solo song, The Block Party, a fittingly personal and artistic tribute to a truly one-of-a-kind talent. Christopher Wallace, known to the world as the Notorious B.I.G. or Biggie Smalls, was a titan of East Coast hip-hop. With his deep, commanding voice, intricate rhyme schemes, and vivid storytelling, he became one of the most skilled MCs to ever touch a microphone. His debut album, Ready to Die, was a cinematic masterpiece that brought a new level of narrative depth to gangsta rap. His music videos, for songs like Juicy and Big Papa, were iconic, showcasing a larger-than-life persona that blended street grit with aspirational luxury. He was the king of New York rap, and along with his rival Tupac Shakur, defined the sound and style of hip-hop in the 1990s. Just 6 months after Tupac's murder, the cycle of violence struck again. On March 9, 1997, Biggie was in Los Angeles to promote his upcoming album, Life After Death. After leaving a party at the Peterson Automotive Museum, the SUV he was riding in stopped at a red light. A dark Chevrolet Impala SS pulled up alongside them, and a gunman fired multiple shots into the passenger side, hitting Biggie 4 times. He was rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center but was pronounced dead shortly after arrival. He was just 24 years old. Like Tupac's, his murder remains officially unsolved. A massive public funeral procession was held in his home borough of Brooklyn. Following the service, the Notorious B.I.G. was cremated. His ashes were given to his family. For many years, their location was kept private. However, it was later revealed that his ashes were interred at Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, New York, alongside his beloved mother, Voletta Wallace, following her passing. This provides a final, peaceful resting place in the borough he so famously represented. Though access and specific location details remain private, Michael Hutchence was the impossibly charismatic and sensual frontman for the Australian rock band INXS. With his smoldering good looks, flowing hair, and commanding stage presence, he was the archetypal rock star of the MTV generation. INXS's slick, stylish, and danceable rock-funk fusion was perfect for the video medium, and songs like Need You Tonight, Devil Inside, and New Sensation made them global superstars. Hutchence's magnetism was at the center of it all. He was the focal point of every video, exuding a confidence and sex appeal that captivated millions of viewers around the world. On the morning of November 22, 1997, while INXS was in Sydney preparing for a tour, Michael Hutchence was found dead in his room at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel. He was 37 years old. The official coroner's ruling was that he had died by suicide while under the influence of alcohol and other substances. His death stunned his fans, family, and bandmates, who had been set to celebrate their 20th anniversary. His funeral was held at St. Andrew's Cathedral in Sydney and was broadcast live on Australian television. In accordance with his wishes, Michael Hutchence was cremated. His ashes were divided into 3 parts. 1/3 was scattered by his mother and brother in Rose Bay, a harbor in Sydney. Another 1/3 was given to his father, who later had them interred with him upon his own death. The final 1/3 was given to his partner, Paula Yates. Following her death in 2000, the location of that portion of his ashes became unknown, leading to much speculation. There is no public grave or marker for Michael Hutchence, leaving his fans with only his music and iconic video performances to remember him by. Richard Shannon Hoon was the charismatic and captivating frontman of the band Blind Melon. His distinctive, high-pitched voice and free-spirited stage presence defined the band's psychedelic-tinged alternative rock sound. The band exploded onto the MTV scene in 1993 with the release of their single No Rain. The accompanying music video featuring the famous B-Girl became an instant cultural touchstone. Hoon's raw, emotional performance and bohemian persona made him a compelling figure in the grunge-era landscape. He was a magnetic but troubled artist, whose talent was matched only by his struggles with addiction. Throughout his time in the spotlight, Hoon battled a severe drug problem, which led to multiple arrests and stints in rehab. On October 21, 1995, while Blind Melon was on tour in New Orleans, the band's sound engineer went to the tour bus to wake Hoon for a sound check. He found the singer unresponsive. Shannon Hoon was pronounced dead at the scene from an accidental cocaine overdose. He was 28 years old and left behind a partner and an infant daughter. His sudden death came at the peak of the band's popularity, a tragic end to a promising career. Shannon Hoon was brought back to his home state and is buried in Dayton Cemetery in Dayton, Indiana. His grave is marked by a large gray granite headstone. It is etched with lyrics from a Blind Melon song he wrote for his daughter, Change, which read, "I know we can't all stay here forever, so I want to write my words on the face of today, and they'll paint it." Fans frequently visit the peaceful rural cemetery to pay their respects, often leaving flowers, guitar picks, and bumblebee figures in a nod to his most famous video. George Michael, born Georgios Kyriakos Panayiotou, was a British pop superstar who first found fame as one half of the duo Wham! Before embarking on a monumental solo career. He was a masterful singer, songwriter, and producer whose work dominated the charts and the airwaves of MTV for decades. From the bubbly fun of "Wake Me Up Before You Go-Go" to the sophisticated soul of Faith and the controversial frankness of "I Want Your Sex," Michael's videos were cinematic events. He crafted his image with meticulous care, evolving from a teen heartthrob into a serious, respected adult artist who challenged conventions and pushed creative boundaries. For years, George Michael had dealt with various health issues and struggles with substance use. On Christmas Day, 2016, he was found dead in his bed at his home in Goring-on-Thames, Oxfordshire, by his partner. He was 53 years old. After initial speculation, a coroner's report confirmed that he had died of natural causes related to a dilated cardiomyopathy with myocarditis and a fatty liver. His death on a major holiday echoed the theme of his famous song Last Christmas and brought a wave of grief from fans around the world. George Michael is buried in Highgate Cemetery in North London. His is a private family plot, and he was laid to rest next to his beloved mother, Leslie. In order to protect the family's privacy and prevent the site from becoming an overwhelming tourist attraction, his grave is unmarked. While fans can visit the beautiful and historic cemetery, they cannot access the specific location of his final resting place, which remains a quiet, personal space for his loved ones. Jonathan Melvoin was a talented multi-instrumentalist who came from a deeply musical family. His sister was Wendy Melvoin of Prince's band, The Revolution. Throughout his career, Jonathan was a highly sought-after touring and session musician, playing with artists like the Dickies and the Prince-affiliated band The Family. In 1995, he was hired by the Smashing Pumpkins to play keyboards on their monumental Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness World Tour. This placed him on stage with one of the biggest bands in the world during the absolute peak of MTV's alternative rock era, performing iconic songs for massive audiences every night. Like many in the rock scene of the time, Melvoin struggled with drug addiction. On the night of July 11, 1996, while in New York City for a tour stop, Melvoin and the Pumpkins' touring drummer, Jimmy Chamberlin, used heroin together in their hotel room. They both overdosed. Chamberlin survived, but Melvoin did not. He was pronounced dead at the scene at the age of 34. The tragedy had immediate and significant consequences. Chamberlin was fired from the band, and the remaining tour dates were canceled. It was a dark moment that highlighted the perils of the rock and roll lifestyle. Jonathan Melvoin's final resting place is at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery in Los Angeles, California. He is interred in the Cathedral Mausoleum. His crypt is marked by a simple plaque bearing his name, his dates of birth and death, and the loving inscriptions, "Beloved son, brother, husband, and father." along with a Star of David, indicating his Jewish heritage. It's a quiet, understated memorial for a talented musician whose life ended far too soon. Selena Quintanilla Perez, known to the world simply as Selena, was the undisputed queen of Tejano music. She broke down barriers for Latin artists and was on the brink of a massive English-language crossover career when her life was tragically cut short. Her charisma, powerful voice, and dazzling stage presence made her a beloved icon, not just in the Latin community, but across the world. Her music videos, full of vibrant color, dancing, and her infectious smile, became staples on both Spanish-language networks and MTV, showcasing her unique blend of cumbia, pop, and R&B to a global audience. She was a cultural phenomenon whose influence continues to grow. On March 31st, 1995, Selena went to a Days Inn motel in Corpus Christi, Texas, to confront Yolanda Saldivar, the president of her fan club whom she suspected of embezzling money. During the argument, Saldivar shot Selena once in the back. Selena managed to flee to the lobby to get help and identify her attacker before collapsing. She was rushed to the hospital but died from blood loss just 2 weeks before her 24th birthday. Her murder shocked the world and caused an unprecedented outpouring of grief. Selena is buried at Seaside Memorial Park in Corpus Christi, Texas. Her grave is marked by a simple, flat bronze plaque bearing her name, a musical note, and her signature. It is one of the most visited celebrity graves in the world, with fans constantly leaving purple flowers, her favorite color, and other tributes. Nearby in the city, the Mirador de la Flor, a life-sized bronze statue, also serves as a permanent memorial where fans gather to honor her memory. Tupac Shakur, also known as Tupac, was one of the most compelling, controversial, and influential rappers of all time. His music was a raw and brilliant tapestry of social commentary, aggression, and vulnerability. He was a gifted poet and a powerful actor, but it was his music videos that cemented his image as a cultural icon. From the party anthem California Love to the poignant Dear Mama, his videos showcased his multifaceted personality. The thoughtful activist, the thug life anti-hero, and the charismatic superstar. He was a dominant and unavoidable presence on MTV throughout the mid-1990s. On the night of September 7th, 1996, after attending a Mike Tyson boxing match in Las Vegas, Tupac was riding in a car with Death Row Records executive Suge Knight. A white Cadillac pulled up alongside their vehicle at a red light, and an unknown assailant opened fire, striking Tupac 4 times. He was rushed to the University Medical Center of Southern Nevada, where he fought for his life for 6 days. He died from his injuries on September 13th, 1996. He was 25 years old. His murder remains one of the most famous unsolved cases in music history. The day after his death, Tupac's body was cremated. What happened to his ashes has become the stuff of legend. Members of his hip-hop group, the Outlaws, have famously claimed that they honored his wishes by mixing some of his ashes with marijuana and smoking them at a beachside memorial. His mother, Afeni Shakur, had a portion of his ashes scattered on her farm in North Carolina, and later, on the 20th anniversary of his passing in Soweto, South Africa, connecting him to the continent he felt a deep kinship with. There is no grave or public burial site for Tupac Shakur. Michael Jackson was, without exaggeration, the king of pop, and arguably the single most important artist of the MTV era. He didn't just make music videos. He transformed them into cinematic events, short films with complex choreography, narratives, and special effects. The world premiere of his video for Thriller in 1983 was a global cultural event that changed the music industry forever. Videos for Billie Jean, Beat It, and Smooth Criminal set a standard that has rarely been met since. His iconic dance moves, like the moonwalk, and his singular fashion sense made him the most famous and influential entertainer on the planet. On June 25, 2009, while preparing for his This Is It comeback concert series, Michael Jackson collapsed at his rented mansion in Los Angeles. Paramedics were unable to revive him, and he was pronounced dead at the Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. He was 50 years old. The cause of death was determined to be an overdose of the powerful anesthetic propofol, which had been administered by his personal physician, Conrad Murray, who was later convicted of involuntary manslaughter. Jackson's death triggered an unprecedented global outpouring of grief. A televised public memorial service was held at the Staples Center, watched by an estimated 2.5 billion people worldwide. After a 2-month delay due to legal matters, Michael Jackson was interred on September 3, 2009, at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. He rests in a private, inaccessible crypt within the Holly Terrace section of the Great Mausoleum. The mausoleum is a grand, opulent building, but the public is not allowed inside. Fans from all over the world make the pilgrimage to Forest Lawn, leaving endless mountains of flowers, letters, and gifts outside the mausoleum's gates, paying tribute to the undisputed king of the music video. Chester Bennington was the ferocious and emotionally raw voice of Linkin Park, one of the most commercially successful bands of the 21st century. His ability to shift between melodic, vulnerable singing and cathartic, guttural screaming became the band's signature sound. Linkin Park's fusion of rock, hip-hop, and electronic music, showcased in visually stunning videos for hits like In the End and Numb, resonated deeply with millions of young fans on MTV and beyond. Bennington's lyrics often explored themes of pain, anger, and alienation, giving voice to a generation grappling with intense emotions. He was a powerful and dynamic performer who wore his heart on his sleeve. Tragically, Bennington had struggled for years with depression, as well as alcohol and drug addiction, issues that stemmed from childhood trauma. On July 20, 2017, what would have been his close friend Chris Cornell's 53rd birthday, Chester Bennington was found dead at his home in Palos Verdes Estates, California. The cause of death was ruled a suicide. He was 41 years old. His death, coming just 2 months after Cornell's, was another brutal blow to the rock community and his legions of devoted fans. A private funeral was held near his home. Following the service, Chester Bennington was cremated. His final resting place is private, and his ashes were given to his family. There is no public grave or memorial site for fans to visit. A cenotaph was reportedly placed at the South Botanic Garden in Palos Verdes, but its public accessibility has been a point of confusion. The family has requested privacy, and fans have honored this by creating their own memorials online and around the world, celebrating the life of an artist who helped so many feel less alone in their own struggles. Prince Rogers Nelson, known globally as Prince, was a true musical visionary, a singer, songwriter, producer, multi-instrumentalist, and actor who defied genre and convention. He was a force of nature whose talent was matched only by his mystique. During the golden age of MTV, Prince was a king. His music videos for songs like When Doves Cry, Little Red Corvette, and the epic Purple Rain were cinematic, provocative, and utterly unique. He blended rock, funk, pop, and R&B into a revolutionary sound, while his androgynous style and electrifying performances challenged ideas about race, gender, and sexuality. He was an artist in the purest sense, creating his own universe of sound and vision. For several weeks leading up to his death, Prince had been reportedly suffering from flu-like symptoms. On April 15, 2016, his private jet made an emergency landing where he was treated for an opioid overdose. 6 days later, on April 21, 2016, he was found unresponsive in an elevator at his Paisley Park estate in Chanhassen, Minnesota. He was pronounced dead at the scene. An investigation later confirmed that he had died from an accidental overdose of fentanyl. He was 57 years old. Following his death, Prince was cremated in a private ceremony. His final resting place is as unique as he was. His ashes were placed in a custom-designed 3D printed urn co-designed by his sister and nephew. The urn is a scale model of his beloved Paisley Park studio and home, complete with his iconic purple symbol on the front. Initially kept private, this urn is now on public display in the main atrium of Paisley Park, which has been opened as a museum. This allows the millions of fans who adored him to visit his creative sanctuary and pay their respects at his final, beautifully personal resting place. David Bowie was a master of transformation, a cultural chameleon whose influence on music, fashion, and art is immeasurable. He was not just a musician. He was an icon who constantly reinvented his persona and his sound. From Ziggy Stardust to the Thin White Duke, each new character came with a new aesthetic and musical direction. In the early days of MTV, Bowie was a natural fit. His visually driven artistry made for groundbreaking videos like Ashes to Ashes, Let's Dance, and China Girl. He was an elder statesman who embraced the new medium wholeheartedly, using it to bring his theatrical and avant-garde visions to a massive global audience. David Bowie was diagnosed with liver cancer in 2014, but chose to keep his illness private from the public. He continued to work, recording his final album, Black Star, during this period. On January 8, 2016, he celebrated his 69th birthday with the release of the album. Just 2 days later, on January 10th, he passed away peacefully at his New York City home, surrounded by his family. His death caught the world completely by surprise, and Black Star, with its themes of mortality and farewell, was instantly recontextualized as his planned final statement. In keeping with his lifelong desire for privacy and his wish to avoid spectacle, David Bowie was cremated shortly after his death without any funeral or public ceremony. He had stipulated in his will that he wanted his ashes scattered in Bali, Indonesia, in accordance with Buddhist rituals. He had a deep spiritual connection to the island and its culture. There is no grave, no memorial, no public monument. His final resting place is the serene landscape of Bali, private end for a very public man who controlled his narrative right to the very end.